When considering potential challenges facing artists in the game sector, the lack of overall job security stood out to me as a pressing issue. I decided to research into this further to try and determine if this was a relevant concern and how best to mitigate this challenge. My initial research showed that layoffs are still a large concern, as is finding work after a contract has ended. GamesIndustry.biz reference the Big Games Industry Employment Survey carried out in 2025, which has 1,650 respondents across EU and non-EU countries within Europe, stating that just over 25% of respondents reported being laid off within the last year, and around 10% of those had not yet found another suitable role. Further to this, the areas most affected include artists, which is additionally concerning. Looking at the UK specifically, the Independent Workers' Union of Great Britain, or IWGB, which represents around 1,500 people working within the games industry in the UK, wrote that as of October 2024, 900 people had lost their jobs in the last 12 months. As a response to these concerns, the IWGB produced a manifesto, which specifically targets job insecurity, unpaid overtime, and wage stagnation and inequality. This suggests that the union views job insecurity to be one of the biggest challenges facing people working within the games industry in the UK. While the union is not able to protect people from layoffs in general, it is able to put pressure on employers and advocate for better working conditions. Further to this, when staff are laid off for what may constitute unfair reasons, in the example of the recent Rockstar layoffs, the union has been able to advocate for those let go unfairly. TAGA has collected data that suggests that overall, as an industry, there is growth within game development in the UK. However, this is tempered with further information that suggests that there has been a decrease in studios overall, with those working at larger and international companies weathering layoffs the best. This suggests that smaller independent studios may be more at risk to the effects of market volatility and more likely to lay off staff, therefore potentially a higher risk role to take. This may be worth considering when beginning my own job search following graduation. It was also noted that Scotland specifically lost headcount overall for games employees over the period the data was collected, which suggests the flexibility around location may be required. To address the challenge of job insecurity, I have considered the following steps to try and mitigate the risk as much as possible. Willingness to move. The data suggests that the job security may be more stable in larger companies, so if an opportunity arose in a workplace like this, I would need to consider my ability to move to a new area, so choosing to apply to these roles over selecting only smaller local companies could be a lower risk strategy. Other sources of income. Creating content for monetization through asset stores and alternative income streams could help circumvent some of the risk associated with the lack of job stability in this area. Keep on top of my personal online presence. It would be a good idea to steadily update and maintain my online professional presence, including LinkedIn, The Rookies, and ArtStation, as a form of networking as well as keeping my portfolio updated, so if I was to suddenly be laid off, having an up-to-date account of my work would make it easier to apply for new roles. Engage with the union. While there may not be a mandated union within an organisation I apply for, often unions will provide advice and advocacy for anyone within the sector. It would also be sensible to keep up with the news from the union, as they often report on poor behaviour from employers, which would help me make informed decisions when it comes to time to apply. Overall, I would argue that the nature of the sector means that we cannot completely account for the risk of job instability. However, hopefully, these few steps will help me manage it in a more prepared way.